The dollar isn't powerful because America is rich. It's powerful because of a deal made with weapons, oil, and a handshake that changed everything. And that deal? It's starting to crack, and what comes next could rewrite your entire financial future. Picture this: nearly every country on Earth wakes up each day and measures their wealth against a single piece of paper. The US dollar. Want to buy oil from Saudi Arabia? You need dollars. Want to trade with China? Dollars. Want to hold reserves in case your economy collapses? You guessed it, dollars. It's not because the dollar is backed by gold or some magical economic formula. It's backed by something far more interesting and far more fragile. Even countries that hate America still hoard dollars like they're collecting Pokemon cards, which is weird when you think about it. Here's what they teach you in economics class. The dollar became the global reserve currency because America had the strongest economy after World War II. Simple supply and demand. The Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944 made it official. The dollar was tied to gold, and every other currency was tied to the dollar. Clean, logical, democratic. Except that's only half the story. And the half they leave out? That's where it gets interesting. Because what happened after the gold standard collapsed in 1971 is what actually made the dollar unstoppable. Because here's the part they conveniently forget to mention in textbooks. In 1971, President Nixon did something that should have destroyed the dollar's power forever. He ended the gold standard. Just canceled it. Imagine if your bank called and said, "Hey, remember how we promised your money was backed by something real? Yeah, we're done with that. But trust us, it's still valuable." That should have been financial suicide. But here's where it gets brilliant and ruthless. 2 years later, in 1973, the US made a deal with Saudi Arabia, a secret deal, the kind that doesn't make it into high school history books, the petrodollar agreement. The deal was simple. Saudi Arabia would only sell oil in US dollars. In exchange, America would provide military protection and weapons to the Saudi kingdom. Oil is the most traded commodity on Earth, and suddenly, if you wanted oil, which every country desperately needed, you had to buy dollars first. This wasn't economics, this was leverage wrapped in a business suit. It's like if McDonald's forced you to buy McBucks before you could order a burger, except McBucks became the most valuable currency on the planet. But the real genius and the real danger is what this created. This single deal turned the dollar into a weapon. Here's how the system works. Step 1. Countries need oil to survive. Step 2, oil is only sold in dollars. Step 3, countries need to earn, borrow, or buy dollars. Step 4, to get dollars, countries export goods to America or hold US Treasury bonds. This created something economists call forced demand for the dollar. And here's the beautiful or terrifying part depending on where you're standing. America can print money, and the inflation gets exported to the rest of the world. Because everyone needs dollars, American inflation doesn't just hurt Americans. It ripples across the entire planet. You know how your country's currency loses value when your government prints too much money? The US can do that too. But other countries absorb a huge chunk of the damage because they're holding dollars as reserves. It's the greatest financial hack in modern history. Imagine playing Monopoly, but you own the bank, you print the money, and everyone else has to use your money to buy properties. Oh, and you also have the biggest military in the game. That's the petrodollar system. This wasn't just about oil. The dollar became the default currency for international trade, central bank reserves. Over 60% of global reserves are in dollars. Debt issuance, where countries borrow in dollars, and commodities pricing. Gold, wheat, copper, all priced in dollars. And here's the kicker. Because the world runs on dollars, America can impose financial sanctions that cripple entire nations. Freeze someone out of the dollar system? You've frozen them out of the global economy. Russia learned this in 2022. Iran has been dealing with it for decades. It's economic warfare without firing a shot. The dollar isn't just a currency, it's a control system. And for decades, this system seemed untouchable, permanent. The dollar was king, and there was no rival in sight. But then, cracks started to form, because 3 things are happening right now that could end dollar dominance forever. Threat number 1, the weaponization backfire. Remember those financial sanctions? The ones that make the dollar a weapon? They're starting to backfire. When the US froze Russia's dollar reserves in 2022, around $300 billion, every other country on Earth took notes. China looked at that and thought, if they can do that to Russia, they can do it to us. Saudi Arabia thought, maybe we shouldn't keep all our wealth in a currency controlled by someone else. India, Brazil, South Africa, they all saw the same thing. The dollar's greatest strength became its greatest vulnerability, because if your power comes from everyone needing your currency and people start to feel unsafe holding it, the entire system starts to crack. It's like realizing the guy who runs the neighborhood bank can lock you out whenever he feels like it. Suddenly, you start looking for other banks. Threat number 2, the BRICS alternative. Here's where it gets real. In 2023, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, started openly discussing creating an alternative currency for trade, not to replace the dollar everywhere, just to give themselves options. China and Russia are already trading oil in yuan. India is buying Russian oil in rupees. Saudi Arabia is in talks to accept yuan for oil sales. These aren't just headlines. These are tectonic shifts. The petrodollar agreement, the one that made all of this possible, isn't officially dead, but Saudi Arabia is flirting with other currencies, publicly. That 1973 handshake that built dollar dominance, it's starting to look more like a suggestion than a rule. Threat number 3, the debt bomb. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. The US national debt is over $36 trillion. That's trillion with a T. For the dollar to stay king, the world has to believe America can manage its finances, that the US economy is stable, that treasury bonds are the safest investment on earth. But when your debt is that massive, and you're printing money to pay interest on the debt you already owe, trust starts to erode. It's like watching someone max out 50 credit cards to pay off the first 49. Eventually, people stop lending you money. Countries are already slowly diversifying away from dollar reserves, not because they hate America, because they're hedged. China, for example, has been quietly buying gold, lots of it. Central banks around the world are stockpiling gold at rates not seen since the 1960s. Why? Because gold doesn't have a government that can freeze your assets or print inflation into existence. So here's where we are right now. In real time, the dollar is still king. It still dominates global trade, reserves, and commodities. But the kingdom is showing cracks. Countries are testing alternatives. The weaponization of the dollar is making allies nervous. The debt is spiraling. And the one deal that made it all possible, the petrodollar, is no longer the untouchable agreement it once was. This is the moment where empires don't collapse. They just start to tilt. And once that tilt begins, it's very, very hard to stop. But here's the part that should terrify you or excite you, depending on how you're positioned. Let's bring this home, because this isn't just geopolitical theory. This affects your life right now. If the dollar weakens, here's what happens. Number 1, your purchasing power shrinks. If the dollar loses its dominance, inflation in the US could skyrocket. Why? Because right now, the world absorbs a lot of America's inflation by holding dollars. If they stop holding dollars, that inflation stays in the US. Your groceries, your rent, your gas, everything gets more expensive. Number 2, interest rates could explode. The US borrows money at low rates because treasury bonds are seen as ultra-safe. If confidence in the dollar drops, the US has to offer higher interest rates to convince people to lend. Higher rates mean more expensive mortgages, car loans, credit cards, you name it. Number 3, global instability. The dollar system has kept relative financial peace for 80 years. If it falls apart messily, you're looking at currency crises, trade wars, and economic chaos across multiple continents. This isn't fear-mongering. This is pattern recognition. Every reserve currency in history eventually loses its dominance. The British pound, the Dutch guilder, the Spanish real. The dollar's turn will come. The only question is, when and how messy will it be? But here's the flip side. If you understand this shift, you can position yourself. Countries and investors are moving into hard assets, gold, real estate, commodities. Cryptocurrencies are being explored as alternatives. Whether they succeed is debatable, but the demand is real. Diversification is no longer optional. It's survival. The people who see the tilt coming don't get crushed by it. they adjust. It's like being on a sinking ship, except you notice the leak early and quietly grabbed a lifeboat while everyone else is still ordering cocktails. Here's the bottom line. The US dollar didn't become king because of economics. It became king because of strategy, leverage, and a 50-year deal that forced the world to play by America's rules. But those rules are changing, not overnight, not dramatically, but slowly, quietly, and inevitably. Finance isn't about math. It's about power, and power always shifts. The dollar is still the most powerful currency on Earth, but power isn't permanent. It's rented, and the lease is starting to expire. The question isn't whether the dollar will weaken. The question is, what are you going to do when it does? And if you think this story is wild, wait until you hear about the financial event that almost collapsed the entire global banking system in 2008 and how it's about to happen again. But that's a story for next time.